Welcome to Dhamma Sobhana and Serving in the Kitchen. Serving correctly and efficiently benefits and supports the students in their work as well as you as a server. Let this introduction be taken as good advice for new servers and as an important reminder for those of you who have served before. We are required by law to keep the same high standards of hygiene and food safety as public restaurants, and we are subject to unannounced food hygiene inspections at any time. We will in this video go through the most important things for you to keep in mind while working in the kitchen. These things are personal hygiene, food hygiene and safety, and food temperatures. We will also take a tour around the kitchen and the center, talk briefly about what to do in the case of incidents, and finally a few points on fire safety. Don't worry if this feels like a lot of information. The information will be presented to you again once you have arrived to the center. After a couple of days, much of this will become second nature, plus you will have plenty of support from your fellow servers, some of whom know the center and the routines very well. First off, hang all your personal clothes either downstairs or on the hangers above the stairs. Do not hang them together with the work clothes. Take a pair of kitchen shoes and write your name on them, for example on a piece of tape. Never use the shoes outside and make sure to only use shoes that are fully covered to prevent hot food and liquids from burning your feet. The kitchen shoes should be kept upstairs. Do not leave them downstairs together with the shoes for outside use. Always use short-sleeved working clothes and hair protection in the kitchen and dining halls. Your own long-sleeved shirts and pullovers are not allowed. If you feel cold, we have coats with long sleeves which may be used instead. When using a coat, always use an apron as well. Aprons, kitchen coats, and hairnets can be found in the cleaning closet outside the kitchen. Aprons should never leave the main building. Take it off if you, for example, go to the earth cellar or take out garbage. An exception is when you ring the gong. You can keep your apron as long as you are sure it doesn't touch anything which can contaminate it. Also take it off if you handle mouse traps and when you go to the toilet or do dirty cleaning jobs. Wash your hands often. If there is any risk that your forearms have become dirty, for example before you start working after taking a break, after visiting the toilet, if you cough, sneeze, or blow your nose, after eating your meal, after doing dirty cleaning jobs, or after handling garbage, wash your hands thoroughly all the way up to the elbows. Cover scratches and wounds with clean, water-resistant bandages and disposable gloves. This is to protect your wounds as well as to prevent contamination of the food. Disposable gloves should always be changed as often as you would otherwise have washed your hands. If you need to cough or sneeze, do so in the bend of your arm. Always eat or drink far away from food which can otherwise be contaminated, which means eating is done outside the kitchen. Take off your watch and all jewelries. If you have to wear your wedding ring, please use disposable gloves. Don't use strong-scented perfume or aftershave. Keep your nails short and clean, and don't use nail polish. Don't lick your fingers while serving in the kitchen. Direct contact with the food served to the students should be as little as possible. Report all illnesses with symptoms like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, coughing, sore throat, cold, wounds, stomach problems, or skin and throat infections. Take showers and change your personal clothes regularly. There are clothes that can be borrowed and the service can use the laundry machines in the laundry house. Change your aprons and kitchen coats whenever they are dirty. Rules for personal hygiene are on the wall next to the fridge. After this video, you will sign that you have understood and agree to follow these rules. Keep the kitchen and dining halls clean in general. If you see something dirty, clean it. Always keep the working areas clean and dry. Never take a break without cleaning your area first. The kitchen is cleaned using a reusable cloth called a one-day wiper. Use it with only water, or if needed, a spray bottle filled with water and a very small amount of hand dishwashing detergent. Vinegar should not be used for cleaning in the main building. If the area is very dirty, you may use a sponge. Never use towels or other cloths for cleaning. All one-day wipers should be thrown away each evening. All things that arrive to the kitchen should be unpacked outside the kitchen. preferably downstairs before entering the elevator. No cardboards are allowed into the kitchen with the exception of crushed tomatoes, pasta, maizena, chocolate pudding, and vanilla sauce. In general, never place any food or equipment on the floor except well-protected packages on the sockets in the cold and dry storages. In the cold storage, we keep a small amount of fresh fruit and vegetables. These should be carefully put into the gray plastic baskets. Earthy roots and vegetables are carefully separated from non-earthy vegetables and fruit. Fruit on the right-hand side, vegetables on the left. Clean the gray plastic baskets if needed. Always wash fresh fruit, vegetables, and salads before preparing or serving. All vegetables should be rinsed either in the preparation room or in the big sink in the kitchen, so we don't get dirt on the clean surface where we prepare the food in the kitchen. Use water mindfully. All preparing of food is done on the workbench in the middle of the kitchen. Vegetable preparations can also be done in the preparation room. Make sure that the shelves above the workbenches are free from things that can otherwise fall down into the food. Never place any small items on the shelves. Also make sure that there are detergents in the kitchen only when we clean and never when we prepare food. Don't leave hand washing detergent on work surfaces. Even a very small amount of hand dishwashing detergent in the dishwasher can destroy the machine. Therefore, no hand dishwashing detergent is allowed in this sink. All other detergents should be stored in the cleaning closet outside the kitchen. There are safety data sheets for chemical detergents in the safety data sheet binder. In case of an accident, there is eye wash on the wall outside the kitchen next to the first aid kit. If this bottle is opened, it needs to be replaced with a new one. Check best before dates. All expired food can be served as long as it tastes, smells, and looks good. Be sure to use the old products first. Always check the food with the eye to, if possible, make sure that no foreign objects have entered the food and that everything looks good. Baking is not allowed during courses. If there are allergic people at the center, be very careful not to contaminate food with allergens. Clean work surfaces, knives, and cutting boards extra carefully and double-check ingredients before cooking. In the recipes, it says how to set the oven. Both ovens have settings with heat, steam, or a mix of heat and steam. On the old oven, you choose the setting, then the temperature, and finally either preheat or the desired time. On the new oven, it is basically the same. Choose the setting, choose how much steam you want, choose a temperature, and then the desired time. The wheel is pushed to confirm the settings. Be careful when you open the door, as a lot of hot steam can come out. This needs to be stressed, as there has been several accidents lately. It is not enough to wait for the first visible cloud of steam to come out. Open the door and wait another 15 seconds or so before you reach your hands and arms into the oven. Preferably use the extra long pot glove. To close the door, give it a hard push. When not in use, leave the oven doors slightly open. More information about the old oven is found in the manuals binder, and some basic information about the new oven can be found on the laminated papers, which should be in the manuals binder, in the magazine holder, or in the white drawer. This is the induction hob. Note the pictures on the wall in front of the hob. Do not place any empty pots or metal objects on the hob, as these can very fast become extremely hot if the hob is accidentally turned on. The hob is made of glass, so it can break if it is hit by something hard or if it's exposed to weights heavier than 40 kilos. The surface is also easily scratched, so no abrasive materials, for example the coarse side of a sponge, are allowed for cleaning it. The surface will also be damaged if it comes in contact with foods with a high concentration of sugar, with plastics, synthetic materials, or aluminum foil while hot. If you spill any of these, for example when making the fruit stew, immediately turn off the hob, use a scraper which hangs from the side of the hob, and then wipe it with a wet cloth or paper before continuing. When the hob is cold at the end of the day, you may use the special detergent for induction hob if it's not enough with damp paper or one-day wiper and spray bottle. Place a few drops of the detergent and distribute with dry paper. Wipe until clean, then polish with new dry paper. Use gloves and protective glasses. Cooking in larger pots is most easily done on the stockpot stove. It's important that everybody understands and respects the boundaries of clean and dirty. Dirty area is that side of the dishwasher room which faces the kitchen, and the area just outside the dishwasher room all the way to the elevator. Clean areas are the side of the dishwashing room facing the Dhamma hall, the preparation area in the preparation room, or the area for clean dishes in the preparation room. The glass wall separates the dirty and clean areas in the preparation room. The two low stainless steel carts are for dirty dishes only, and the two high dishwashing basket carts are for clean dishes only. No dirty dishes may enter the clean areas, and nothing clean may be put on the carts for dirty dishes. We have a new pre-rinse machine which rinses the dishes so we don't have to do it by hand. Note that the light around the button on this machine is not working. If you push the button, you can feel if the button is pressed or not. The dishes should not be rinsed with water, only scraped before going into the pre-rinse machine. And the strainer in the pre-rinse machine needs to be emptied often. If the dishes have dirt which doesn't go away in the pre-rinse machine, you can turn the lever below the sink to collect water and soak all the trays that need soaking. Never put anything sharp into the water. Dirty dishes from the kitchen area are to be put on the bottom compartment of the cart next to the kitchen. Clean dishes should be left on the rail, on the cart on the clean side of the dishwasher room, or in the clean area in the southwest corner in the preparation room to air dry. If you need to dry the dishes quickly, use paper, never use towels. Do not store anything before it is completely dry. Very important. Wash your hands every time you change from handling dirty dishes to handling clean dishes. This should be done even if you use gloves. The baskets with pins are for plates, the baskets with big holes are for cups, and the baskets with small holes are for cutlery only. Cutlery is washed once in the basket with small holes and then once again standing up, this time in a basket with big holes. The small bowls has to be securely standing up between pins in the pre-rinse machine, otherwise they smash into each other and break. To wash trays in the machine, use a specially modified gray basket. Knives and parts for the food processor should never be washed in the machine. When you clean the machines at the end of the day, use the yellow water hose and a dishwashing brush to clean the inside of the machines, but be careful not to spray water on the outside of the machines, as this might damage electrical parts. You might need to empty the water of the pre-rinse machine and clean it with a water hose during the day if the water gets very dirty. Note the description of how to turn on and off the machines on the wall above the rail. The food waste is to be put in the green container with a green plastic bag. It should not be heavier than 15 kilos, tied with a double knot. It can be thrown away in the same bins outside as the other trash. Organic waste from the dishwashing room is put directly into the white bucket and emptied every night in the green container in the kitchen. Remember to do this before taking out the trash. After emptying, take the white bucket back to the dishwashing room and wash it. Other waste is to be put in the yellow container or in the black plastic bag on the garbage bag stand. Take out the garbage every night after the work is finished. No organic waste should be left overnight. Clean the containers if necessary. We keep a garbage bin by the wall to the workshop for disposing of garbage. When it's full, roll the bin over to the area by the parking lot and bring back an empty one. Keep the doors to the storages closed as much as possible, and the kitchen doors closed when leaving the kitchen to keep mice out and heat in. Also keep the entrance doors to the main building closed as much as possible to keep mice and other vermin out. Only windows with bug nets may be opened. Cover the food during preparation as much as possible. Never put uncovered food in the fridge, and never leave any food uncovered when no one is around. It should be fly-proof and mouse-proof. Don't throw away any equipment without contacting the kitchen committee, even if you are sure it is broken. Also, don't make any irreversible changes like drilling or sawing into the equipment. Do not rearrange the furniture, alter the labels indicating where items should be placed, or adjust the advanced settings of the machines without prior approval from the kitchen committee. Between courses, you can always consume the items written on this list here below the TV. It is also safe to use the products which we have in stock for several courses. If you, on the other hand, consume items such as tofu, oat cream, or soy meat, etc., it might not be enough for the next course. If you are unsure, please talk to the server ordering food or the center manager. Bacteria in the food can make us sick. Bacteria grow very rapidly in room temperature. Bacteria do not grow at all above 60 degrees Celsius. Bacteria grow slowly at 8 degrees and even slower at 4 degrees. Any temperature between 8 and 60 degrees is considered room temperature and unsafe. To repeat, room temperature is any temperature between 8 and 60 degrees. It is very important that we keep the food in this temperature span as little as possible. Therefore, we cool or freeze our leftovers as soon as we can using the blast chiller. You will find instructions on how to operate it on the blast chiller's door. Study these instructions carefully. The food must be put in the blast chiller after maximum 2 hours in room temperature. If these 2 hours are exceeded, the food should be thrown away. Once in the blast chiller, it must reach 8 degrees within maximum 4 hours. This will generally not be a problem, but if it fails to reach 8 degrees within this time, the food has to be thrown away. Clean the probe in the sink with some soap before putting it into the food and clean it again after taking the food out. Also clean the blast chiller after each use. Don't forget the cable. Please handle the probe cable with care as it is very expensive and easily damaged. The person who started the blast chiller is responsible for turning it off and putting the food in the fridge. The trays are good for storing food in the fridge as they can be piled. Put on a lid and always mark it with content and course day or date. Also write reheated once in case it has been reheated. The food is stored in the fridge at 4 degrees for a maximum of 5 days or is frozen, and it can be reheated maximum 2 times as long as it smells, tastes, and looks good. Keep warm food warm and cold food cold until it's time to serve it. When serving cold items, do so on cooling pads and leave refrigerated items out in room temperature for as short amount of time as possible. When reheating leftovers, the key to safety is temperature. This is very important, but another important factor is time. For the food to be disinfected from potentially dangerous bacteria, it needs to reach 70 degrees for at least 2 minutes. This is our minimum threshold. Feel free to heat it further and longer. If the food is heated to 80 degrees, for example, it is disinfected in only 6 seconds. One important thing to think about is to stir in the pots during reheating to make sure that all food in the pot gets equally hot. When you measure the temperature of food from the oven, it is important to measure the core temperature and not just the surface temperature. The oven has an inbuilt probe which can be used. Disinfect it, put it deep into the food, push the probe button, set the temperature you want, and when you hear the end signal of the oven, the temperature is reached. Every time you cook or reheat food, you should sign the form A1 Check Up Temperature Hot Food on the wall in front of the stove. With your signature, you guarantee that the food has reached 70 degrees or more for 2 minutes or more. It's okay to sign the form without using the thermometer if you are 100% sure that the minimum of 70 degrees for 2 minutes has been reached. This is often the case the first time we cook the food, as it might have been boiling for a long time, or it has been in the oven at 200 degrees for 35 minutes. Note though that bubbles can come up in the pan long before all the food has reached 70 degrees when reheating leftovers. To freeze food in the blast chiller, put it in flat bags. Never freeze food in big blocks. Maximum 1 liter in each bag and put the bags on grids. If it is frozen, also write how many days it was in the fridge before being frozen. If, for example, it was in the fridge for 2 days before being frozen, it can only stay 3 more days in the fridge after being defrosted. When defrosting food, it cannot stay in room temperature for more than 2 hours, even if it is frozen. This means that either you have to defrost it in the fridge, in a bowl so that the condensation water is collected, or it has to reach 60 degrees in 2 hours, which is only possible in the oven or in the microwave oven. Don't mix leftovers with fresh food. The cold chain may never be broken. This means that items which should be stored at maximum 8 degrees should never go above 8 degrees, and items which should be stored at minus 18 degrees should never go above minus 18 degrees. Hot food should never be placed directly in the fridge, as the temperature is then raised in all the items in the fridge, and the cold chain is broken, resulting in faster, unsafe bacterial growth. Keep an eye out for fridges and freezers being too hot or too cold. The temperatures can be adjusted, and sometimes it's necessary to reorganize the food for better air circulation. Make it a routine to check fridge and freezer temperatures every time you open them. If you don't remember all the details, the rules for saving and reheating food are on the wall next to the fridge. Behind the kitchen door you will find cleaning materials which is to be used only in the kitchen and storage rooms. In the cold storage we keep fruit, vegetables, roots, dry fruits, juices, all canned food, etc. Recipes for breakfast and afternoon tea are on the wall by the fridge. An overview where you can find all things at the center which are relevant for the kitchen is on the side of the fridge. In the white drawer by the cold storage lies among other things freezing materials, writing materials, thermometers, and protective glasses. Different manuals are on the shelf over the door and in the drawer. Note that there are band-aids on the wall above the white drawer next to the kitchen fridge. In the hallway upstairs is a closet with cleaning equipment. Detergents are also stored here along with dishwashing brushes, kitchen rolls, and sponges, etc. Here you will also find the fuse box for this house. Cleaning materials for the female dining hall are in the storage room under the staircase. Here you might also find center feed paper for drying hands. The gongs are found by the entrances of the main building. In the storage cabin we keep larger amounts of dry goods and things related to the kitchen, for example sponges and one-day wipers. Here is also the vegetable fridge and a freezer, which is used when there is not enough room in the freezers inside. In the central storage beyond the office you can find garbage bags, disposable gloves, and detergent for the dishwasher, along with a lot of other center stuff. The earth cellar is located beyond the 80 apartments and central storage towards the forest. Here we keep fruit, root vegetables, and potatoes. Keep fruit separate from vegetables as much as possible. The vegetable cutter is found in the new preparation room. There is a description on the side of the water heater next to the machine. It is important that all parts are placed correctly. Ask someone if you are unsure how it works. For example, the dicer grid has to be inserted with the sharp side up, otherwise the machine will be damaged. When cleaning this machine, you can, after disconnecting the cable, pull it to the edge of the sink and rinse the inside and the feeder pipe with the water shower. Make sure no water is sprayed on buttons or ventilation grids. Don't put it into the sink and don't lay it down for cleaning. All other parts are wiped with a cloth. Inspect that all pieces are intact before using it. The food processor is found on the workbench between the preparation room fridge and the elevator. Make sure that the knife is all the way down before operating this machine. There is a groove on this pin which corresponds to a groove inside the knife. It can be a bit tricky to find and has to be mounted after the container is placed on the machine. The handle of the machine has to be towards you. To open the lid, the container has to be taken off the machine and the lid needs to be pressed at this point. In the dry storage, we have all dry food like beans, oats, pasta, diet products, and cookies. Here we also have boxes for special diets. Make extra sure that no gluten or other allergens enter these boxes. Unopened packages of spices are also stored here. Upstairs is the big freezer. This is where we store leftovers and frozen food for cooking. In the dining halls, there are separate fridges for open packages and unopened packages. The new water boilers are automatically turned on in the morning and turned off in the evening, so you should not touch them during the course. In the serving counter, the water baths are to be filled with about 5 centimeters of water and turned on 15 minutes before the food comes down from the kitchen. It's important that they are not turned on without water, as this will damage them. There is a main switch and individual switches for each bath. They are emptied when the water is dirty by turning the black lever. Note that the bucket is not big enough to fit all the water, so don't empty it all at once. The openings of the elevator has both inner and outer doors. For the elevator to function, all doors must be closed. A very important note. We have twice recently had to make expensive repairs of the elevator caused by cutlery and utensils, and even cutting boards falling down in the slot between the door and the bottom surface of the elevator. Therefore, it is strictly forbidden to put any loose cutlery or utensils in the elevator. All smaller objects, such as cutlery and utensils, must be transported in buckets or pods without any pre-filled water. It is not enough to put the cutlery and utensils in the trays for transport in the elevator, as they might fall out of the trays. Make sure not to spill any liquid in the elevator, as this will run into the shaft. Therefore, use as deep trays as possible. Don't overfill them, and soak cutlery only when it has arrived upstairs. The elevator has an upper and a lower compartment. The upper compartment is for clean things only. This means it's for the food going down to be served, and for leftovers which are to be saved coming up, and also for clean dishes going down. The lower compartment is for dirty dishes and food to be thrown away. Never use the bottom dirty compartment for bringing down food or clean dishes, even if you have cleaned it. If this system is strictly followed, it will also be clear for those upstairs whether the food should be saved or thrown away. Any food coming up on the upper shelf is saved, and any food coming up on the lower shelf is thrown. Clean the elevator between each use, or as soon as you spill something. There is a paper with this basic information about the elevator upstairs on the wall next to the elevator. Recyclable materials are organized outside the kitchen. You don't have to rinse the containers, just be sure to empty them as much as you can. Note the paper with instructions. When the small containers on the shelf are full, they are emptied in an organized manner in the trailer in the yard, and then cleaned and put back on the shelf. When the blue containers are full, bring the full bag down to the trailer and put a new transparent bag into the blue container. Clean the containers if needed. By the door to the bathroom, we hang wet laundry. When dry, put it in the laundry box to be washed after the course or when needed. Don't put anything wet in the laundry box. There is a defibrillator on the wall beside the entrance to the main building for use if someone suffers a cardiac arrest. In the case of incidents such as broken glass in the kitchen, food poisoning, too high temperatures in the fridge, encountered mice or other vermin, or an accident where one of the servers gets or almost gets hurt, always notify the center manager and write an incident report which can be found in the kitchen manager's binder. Put the form in the binder filled in forms. It's better to fill out too many than too few incident reports. These are an important basis for the improvement of safety in the kitchen. Fire in the kitchen is easily avoided with common sense and by taking certain simple precautions. Never leave food boiling unattended on the stove. Heat oil maximum 1 minute on maximum heat setting 7 on the induction hob. 10 is only for rapidly boiling water or the like. Always turn the handles of the pots inwards to avoid the risk of someone passing by pulling them down on the floor. Keep inflammable and easily ignited things on at least 1 meter's distance from the stove. Turn the stove off when you're done cooking on it. Clean the stove from grease regularly, since a larger spot of grease can ignite. If, however, a fire breaks out, it's important to handle it correctly and to avoid spreading the fire and causing more damage. If a pot of food ignites, put on a mitten and carefully cover the pot with a lid to choke the fire. Alternatively, use a fire blanket, which can be found on the wall next to the big paper roll or on the wall next to the window. The fire blanket is taken out from its cover by pulling the strap. Then turn the stove off. Never ever use water to extinguish the fire. If the cause of the fire is grease, water will cause the grease to violently splash, which increases and spreads the fire. If there is a fire in an oven or a microwave oven, just close the door and turn off the heat. The fire will then quickly be quenched. There is a CO2 fire extinguisher in the kitchen, and one foam extinguisher in the hall outside the kitchen. Both are appropriate for extinguishing fires caused by grease and electricity.
Pull the pin at the top of the extinguisher and then squeeze a handle to start spraying.
It is important to spray into the base of the fire and not directly into the flames.
All servers should study the emergency exit plans placed in the buildings and memorize the emergency exits, especially the exits in the main building and where you are living. In the service dining hall there is a fire ladder from the window on the south wall, and in the kitchen the emergency exit is out the window onto the roof of the annex, and then there's a fire ladder from this roof to the ground. If you are not comfortable with using a ladder as an emergency exit, please talk to the management.
In case of a fire alarm, all the servers should gather by the green meeting point sign in front of the main building. The female students gather in front of the female house, and the male students gather in front of the male house.
In case of a fire, call 112. There is a telephone in the kitchen and at the entrance of the female accommodation house.
Before we end, a small reminder not to forget signing the form Rules for Personal Hygiene. It can be found in the kitchen manager's binder. Enjoy your service, be kind to yourself and your co-servers, and be happy.